Good evening. My name is Chad Bumstead, and I'm the principal at Dallastown Area Cyber Academy, the Dallastown Area School District. And thank you for tuning in this evening. For all of those of you that are live audience members, we're able to register for this webinar. This is the grades 9 through 12 DASD Cyber Virtual Orientation. It is being recorded. It is being recorded so that you can review back to it as you need. Some important items for this evening. As I shared, it is being recorded. A link to the recording will be posted on our website, DASD Cyber Academy information. And I will also be sending out a link tomorrow to all the families that are on my DASD high school cyber roster. So you'll be able to review that and have it to refer back to. We are going to be hosting a question and answer throughout. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button that will allow you to write in a question. I will attempt to address those questions as they pop up or at the end of the session. There is a raise your hand, but we are not using that this evening. We're not set up to handle that this evening. So please, if you do have a question, please submit it through the Q&A, or if you don't feel comfortable or it's very specific to your child, you can just simply send me an email and I will get back to you. Tonight's presentation is specific to the Cyber Academy as it pertains to the high school. Last evening, we held an orientation for middle school. Next week, next Wednesday, we'll be doing it for the same orientation program for our K through 6 population. So if you have children in those groups, know that be tuned in then. A registration will be coming out for the K through 6 orientation, and it will also be recorded. And any questions that you may have regarding Wildcat remote learning or in-person schooling at the high school, I would ask that you direct that to your child's assistant principal. Beginning of the alphabet is Mr. Brian Robb. Middle of the alphabet is Mrs. Becky McCauley. And end of the alphabet is Mrs. Misty Wilson. So if you have questions regarding Wildcat remote learning or in person, please direct it to them. Just take a real quick moment and talk about the fact that we do offer both full and blended cyber options. The vast majority of you selected the full cyber, meaning that all of your courses will be done using the Odysseyware platform. And as I'll be sharing later on here, it's very important that you set a routine for that process of learning. You set your own schedule. A schedule is not given to you. Learning can occur from anywhere at any time using Odysseyware. So 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week access to your learning. But again, you need to set your own questions. We also do offer blended. A number of you did indicate that you would like a blended approach. And that essentially means that you're going to do cyber, but there are 1 or 2 classes that you're going to also supplement that are either in person or using Wildcat remote. Okay. And that involves the traditional courses. If you have classes that are honors courses or you have AP courses, I would strongly encourage you to do Wildcat remote learning for those classes. DASD Cyber does not recognize, we do not have honors level courses. So if you're a person or a student that really is concerned about GPA points and weighted GPA, unfortunately, for better or worse, we do not have that designation. All of our courses are considered college and career ready. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Of course, with both options, blended or full, you have access to all extracurricular activities as they are offered. You also have access to physical in-person tutoring. We do ask that you call ahead and speak with your teacher about that. Face-to-face tutoring is offered within our learning center at the high school library. Of course, you have access to full school counseling services through Mrs. Dixon. She is our program counselor, and she does the same exact things as any other school counselor does. If you're a junior, a senior, even a sophomore, and you're thinking about career planning, college, Post-secondary, she can assist you with that. The mental, emotional, social piece, she can also assist you with that as well. For our students that are seniors, all of our courses are credited. They will count on your transcript towards graduation. And you will receive, if you see it through to graduation, you will receive a Dallastown Area High School diploma. It does not indicate cyber. It just says Dallastown Area High School diploma. And of course, you'll be able to participate in commencement ceremonies as it is offered. And of course, you also have use of a district laptop device. I do see some questions here. And I see that there are a number of, let's see. I saw that in-person schooling, ninth graders are now getting new Chromebooks. Will Cyber Wildcats get new Chromebooks also? The answer is yes. If what we are doing, I'm working with IT to make sure that all of our students do have devices, and our ninth graders are set to get the high school devices. So we'll be working on that. Another question, my son is in 2 honors level courses. How do we register for the blended cyber? That's just a matter of letting us know through an email who your son is, what courses he has, and then Mrs. Dixon will work with the high school administration and counseling team to set those up through Wildcat remote learning or in person. Moving on to the next piece of information. This is what a typical program looks like. Most of our high school students, as you know, take 4 to 5 courses in a trimester. So that's what we seek to schedule our students with. You can take more than 5 courses. We do not advise that unless you are an experienced cyber student. You have some time under your belt with cyber. One thing you will find, it is different type of learning. It is not easier learning. My daughter took Odysseyware courses. She took 2 of them as a senior, and she actually worked as hard or harder in those classes, not because it's more challenging work, but because of the nature of the work. It is strictly student driven. So it's more effort involved. And we also cover the course from cover to cover. There is no abbreviation to the courses. What we say is that there's about 6 hours. What we expect of a student to invest is about 6 hours per week. Now, we do consider our week to be a Monday through Sunday. That does not mean, and I need to repeat this, that does not mean that you have to do work on Saturdays. You don't have to do work on Sundays. You don't have to do work on Thanksgiving or Christmas or day in service days that Dallastown has. In fact, you don't have to do work on any given day of the week. You have the ability to set your own schedule and routine. But within that week, you should be investing approximately 6 hours of time per course. And on average, you're looking at 1 to 3 tasks per day in each course. So if you do the math, that comes out to about 24 to 30 hours per week, Monday through Sunday, as you're looking at for your courses. I've said it several times already, and I will say it again. A student that does DASD cyber must set their own routine and schedule, and they must stick with it. Students have different unique needs. Some students work. Some students have outside activities that they're engaged in that take up their time. Some students aren't morning people, they're evening people, or vice versa. That is liberty for you to decide. But once you have a routine, please stick with that routine. Base it on your priorities, base it on your needs. We also highly encourage our students to limit their blocks of work time to no more than 90 minutes. That's probably an extreme. I would limit it to an hour. And here's an example, and this is just a template. You can see that across the top are the days of the week. Down the side are the times. For this example or this template, I set it up half an hour blocks of time. And you can see how this student chose to set up their days. All right. They build in time for each subject. They actually on each day then build in an additional block in the evening for each subject on a given day. And then on Sundays, they have a built-in time for makeup work. You can see the students not planning on doing any work on Saturdays. And in fact, they have a very abbreviated day on Fridays because they front-loaded it in the week. So again, you have the liberty to set your own schedule. Take a moment to talk about grading and scoring. We use the same grading scale as the school districts. So in order to pass a course or an assignment, you must have a 60% or better. And then of course it progresses up through D, C, B, and A respectively. And that's how we use our grading based on percentages to get those grades. We do have a reassessment policy. It's found in our handbook, pages 8 and 9 of the handbook talks about grading and scoring. Every single lesson, and 25% of your grade is made up of lessons, and I'll talk about those a little bit later. But every single lesson is set to automatically reassign if you score less than 60%. It's important that you try your very best on the lessons, of course. Otherwise, that's all you'll ever get done doing is the lessons. But if you do score poorly, you have a second chance to go through, answer those questions for the lesson again, and score much better. So that's a great way of really boosting your grade. Projects, quizzes, and tests, they can be reassigned, but that's at teacher discretion. So the things that our teachers are looking for, evidence of genuine effort. If you turn a blank assignment in, if it's an essay or a paper or a presentation, and you turn that in and it's blank, we're not going to reassign that because there's no evidence that you actually put effort in the first place. If in order for it to be reassigned, you must score less than 70% on that task, and you must also have less than a 70% in the unit that task is located in. The reason, you may be wondering why we do that. Students that are perfectionists, like I'll use my daughter again, they would never get the course done because they would continually be asking for things to be reassigned. So we do need to set that ceiling for our students. Okay. Another thing that we will, grounds that we won't reassign is if there's evidence of plagiarism. We need to take that very seriously. I'll be talking about that later in the presentation. Your final course grade, it's issued, and this says at the conclusion of the school year. My error on that, this is from the middle school presentation. It's issued at the end of the trimester. Remember, at the high school level, courses are trimester in length. So every trimester we get new courses. The final course grade is issued at the trimester. A student must have completed the entire course within that trimester, and they are broken into trimester length. So it's not like a year-long course and we're expecting a student to do it in a trimester. Just like high school has Algebra 1 Part A, Algebra 1 Part B, we also have Algebra 1 Part A based on a trimester in length. They must have the entire course completed and they must have a 60% or better. If the student does not have the entire course completed, they're in the ballpark, but they fall short. A student that has an 85% or better can still pass the course. And by 85%, I mean 85% of the course is completed. They can still pass the course, but they will have a penalty of 1% deducted from the score for each percent incomplete. So for example, you end the course and your achievement grade is 84%, but you only completed 90% of the course. That's going to be a 10-point deduction. So your final course grade would actually be a 74%, 84 minus 10. Okay. We do again have to draw a line. Any course that is less than 85% complete, it will result in an automatic failing final course grade. That's the way cyber works. You must complete the course in order to pass, to get the credit. Taking a moment to talk about attendance requirements. This can also be found in pages 10 through 12 of the handbook. The handbook is located on our website, but I will also tomorrow be pushing out a link to this presentation, and as well as an electronic version of our handbook and several other resources that you can use. Attendance is taken weekly, so we do not do daily attendance because of the flexibility of our program. We do weekly attendance. We start Monday at 12:01. If there's someone up at midnight on Monday, they can start their work right then and there through Sunday at 11:59. So again, when I say 24-hour, 7-day-a-week access, we mean 24-hour, 7-day-a-week access. We administratively track active time logged on. So what we're looking for, I receive a report every Monday morning that shows me how many hours, minutes, and seconds a student was actively logged into their course. So what I'm looking for is 3 hours per course per week. Now you're probably thinking, wait a second, you said 6 hours per course per week. Part of that learning experience is offline learning, which we can't track. So in essence, we're gifting each student 3 hours per week in assumed offline academic learning. Okay, so on the clock, we're looking at 3 hours per course per week, plus 3 hours offline, which we're not tracking, for a total of 6 hours. Now, every student is different. Some students work faster. Some students work slower. I said 24 to 30 hours per week. For some students, that may be more because they need more time. Others may be less. So you may be asking yourself, well, what if my child is working diligently, they're doing well, they're staying on pace, but they're not fulfilling that hour requirement that Bumstead's talking about? We have what's called the progress and achievement clause. So essentially, I will also be looking at your students' progress and their achievement. If they are on pace in every course that they have, and they are passing every course that they have, even if they don't have the minutes or hours, they will still get credit for attendance for that week. Now, because we are a public school, we are subject to compulsory education. That is a state law, not a Dallastown law. That means that if you're under the age of 18, you need to be in school. The state expects you to be actively in school. So if you're under the age of 18 and you're not attending, it becomes not only an unexcused absence, but an illegal absence. And that's assigned 1 per week in DASD Cyber. So if you earn 1 to 3 unexcused illegal absences, that results in parent notification. My staff will be in touch. I will be in touch. I will be hounding the student as well as the parents, saying, hey, what's happening? How can we help? We need to get on the ball here. A 4th unexcused illegal will result in having to sit down or do a Zoom conference to set up a mandatory student improvement, attendance improvement plan. That's red tape, but it needs to happen because the next step becomes a truancy citation that we file with the district magistrate. I don't want to do this. My staff doesn't want to do this. Parents certainly don't want this. It's not good for anybody, but it is the law. So bottom line, let's avoid that by taking care of business and making sure we're meeting our attendance by simply staying on pace, doing our best, and investing those hours. And really, it's a wash. Students that are on pace and passing grades are also investing the time. Communication is so important to cyber learning. It's a two-way street. It's a must. We are not there. My staff is not there physically with the student. So we can't read body language. We can't read frustration. We do check in, but we're not there. So it's very important that if your student has questions, if they're getting frustrated, obviously trying to work through it, but also communicating with their teacher. And there are many ways in which that can be done. District email account, Odysseyware messaging, a phone call. We also communicate through text messaging. We have an application that we use. We do Zoom sessions and Google Meets. So there are many ways in which to communicate. One thing that we do expect is that our students and parents both check their email every day. You don't have to sit on your email, but please check it because that's our primary way of communicating. Parents must make sure that there's a current working phone number. You'd be surprised how many times we make a phone call and it says this number is not in service, it's disconnected. We love to get in touch with you for positives as well as concerns, but we need to have working information. So make sure your Skyward's up to date. And teachers will respond to emails and phone calls in a timely manner. It's an expectation that I have during the business day. And our teachers are very good about that. They're continually checking, they're monitoring, and the response time oftentimes is less than an hour, maybe several minutes. Keep in mind that it is not immediate response. So there is going to be a delay. Communication sent during evening hours may not be responded to until the next day. My teachers do check their emails in the evenings, but you have to remember they also have families and need to have a break as well. Likewise, if you're working over the weekend and you send an email, that might not get checked or responded to until the start of the next work of the school week. So keep that in mind. We do believe in being responsive, providing feedback, but there is going to be a delay. It's the nature of cyber learning. I already mentioned about Zoom sessions. The district has invested in paid Zoom account subscription, so every teacher will have Zoom. It will be secure, so you don't have to worry about interlopers. And we can set up, there's a lot of neat features that can be done in Zoom. We can set them up for individual assistance or small group. So in other words, if a teacher happens to see that a student is, that several students are struggling on the same concept, they can invite them to a group Zoom session for assistance. This can be initiated by the student. Hey, Mr. Williams, can we set up a Zoom session so I can go over XYZ? It can also be directed by the teacher. Hey, John, I see that you're really struggling with this. Why don't we set up a Zoom session for such and such time? We're talking 10, 15 minutes maybe in order to give assistance. One thing that I need to emphasize is we do expect proper etiquette during these sessions. It means appropriate dress, okay? And that does not mean you have to be dressed up, but you have to be appropriately dressed. Appropriate language. It's a school function, so the same way you would talk to your teachers in the classroom, that's the expectation in these sessions. And finally, please make sure that your behavior is appropriate. There are countless Instagram and Snap, and you can YouTube a bunch of funny videos or supposedly funny videos of students that are acting ridiculous in their Zoom session. It's disruptive, it's discourteous, it shows a lack of character. So we do expect our students to behave appropriately in those Zoom sessions. And finally, please check your school website, the high school website frequently. Bookmark it, check it. That's how you'll know when events are happening if you wish to participate in those. Okay? And you are a Dallastown Wildcat student, not just a cyber student, but a Dallastown Wildcat. We want you to take full advantage of all those opportunities. I'm going to take a moment here and scroll down. I see there are some more questions. My son, I already answered that one. The program can be reached through a non-district laptop, correct? Absolutely. Any device, anywhere, anytime. We do not recommend smartphones. They have a tendency to skew the screen, but you can use your own laptop. However, the district will be providing a working laptop device to all students. When do we return old Chromebooks and where? I will be working with the IT. We will push out information for our families so that they know when to transition, when to pick up devices, and I'll be talking here momentarily about tech support. And my daughter's going into 9th grade. Does she get a new Chromebook? I already addressed that. I believe the answer is yes. We do have a very large demand, as you can imagine, for devices. So we're working. I know that usually all of our students, K through 12, getting laptop devices. We are giving our elementary students and intermediate students Chromebooks this year. Can students work ahead if they choose to? Absolutely. Self-pacing is a big part of what we do. I've had students finish courses in advance if they're industrious. Doesn't happen often, I will tell you, but when they do, we work with that student. We can actually get them started on their trimester 2 courses if they desire. So a student can really make up some ground in cyber if they're industrious. How many hours a day total per week? We already addressed that. We signed our order. Is the schedule shown on Skyward? We are in the process of building and transferring schedules as they exist. So if your child did not get a chance to pick courses, we will be building them, reaching out to them. All the classes will be up and ready to roll for September the 8th. I'm going to jump back in at this time to the presentation, and then I'll pick up the questions a little bit later on, but they're all great questions. Thank you for asking. Technical support. Voila. We want to make sure that you start the year with a working device. So there are two questions that you need to answer. And the first is, do you have a school district device? If you don't have a device, please let me know. I need the student's name and grade. Okay, and then I will work with IT to make sure a device is built and ready. If you do have a device, but it's not working, screen is cracked, won't hold power, won't hold a charge, keys are falling off the keyboard, the wear and tear type things. Got run over by a car. That actually happened. Please, again, email me so that I can make sure you have a device, your child actually has a device that's working and ready to go for the start of the school year. If you have maintenance during the school year, we have a family call center. There's a phone number and also an email. It's located right there. It will also be on an at-a-glance document that I'm sending out to all of our families. And that's going to be really helpful. Our IT department is outstanding. They turn things around right away. So there's very little lost time when a device goes down. If they can't fix it, they will get you a replacement device. But that in the event you have a device malfunction during the school year, during the trimester, you can reach out to our maintenance team. So I want to take some time now to shift gears and talk about Odysseyware. For those of you that have been members of our DASD cyber family, you've taken a class or several classes, you may not have to pay much attention to this section because you're probably old pros, but you may learn some new things. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here in the next several minutes and go over what Odysseyware is like. On that at-a-glance document that you will have, that I'm going to be sending out tomorrow, this link will be on there. You must use this URL link in order to access the Dallastown Odysseyware. If you go Google Odysseyware, it will throw a generic link and you will not be able to log on. So what I encourage all of you to do is take this link. You don't have to do it tonight, of course, but bookmark it in your Chrome browser. We do encourage our students to use Chrome, but bookmark it in your browser, and then it is there for you to use. Okay? All of you already have your district password. Your username is your district issued 6-digit ID, and your password is your district issued tech password. If you don't have that, it is found in Skyward, but I can also set you up with that. It's the same password that you use to log on to your device that has been with you since you started in Dallastown. So we try to keep it simple. We try to streamline it. That's your username and password. I do believe that all accounts are set up now. That means that for all of our active students that we have record of, that means you could tonight log on using that URL and it would greet you. You'd get to the home page, which looks like this. I would ask, however, if there are courses that are set up, believe it or not, you could access and start those courses now, but my teachers will not be scoring the work, and they will not be providing any feedback, and they will not be available to you until September the 8th. So if you're an ambitious individual, you can get in, browse around, but I would not go too deep into the classes until the school year actually starts, when the courses are open and they're placed in Odysseyware. Again, most students probably won't have their courses in Odysseyware yet, but some might. So keep that in mind. This is your home page. When you log on, this is the first thing you'll see. There are a couple features I want to point out. First of all, there's a 1-800 number. This is the Odysseyware Platform Support Hotline. You probably have heard our site is very robust. It never goes down. Odysseyware is actually very robust. They do maintenance at off hours, so students don't have to worry, like on weekends at midnight, unless you're a very unique individual doing work on a Saturday at 1 a.m. You don't have to worry about them doing maintenance and interrupting your learning. And they will let you know like a week in advance if the site is going to be down. It's just a great platform, a great site. But if you do have issues, you call this 1-800 number. You will talk to an individual that you'll be able to understand, and they will walk you through whatever problems. They're wonderful. Because quite frankly, if you reach out to me about an Odysseyware issue, that's what I'm going to do is call them, and then you can cut out the middleman, go directly to the source. I talked about the messaging that exists at the internal email system. Right here it is. So you can simply click right there, and that will provide you with your messages. Really very important that our students check their emails or their messaging in Odysseyware. That's going to be the primary conduit for communication regarding courses. So make sure that you're checking that. And when you want to get to the actual courses, you simply click on Learn, which is what we're going to do right now. When you click on Learn, it automatically gives you two tabs. There's a Courses tab and an Assignments tab. I'm not quite sure why, but they do set it up that way. Please hear me very clearly. Click on Courses. Okay? Don't click on Assignments. Click on Courses. That will take you to your dashboard. And the dashboard is just like a dashboard on a car. It has many gauges that tell you how you're doing. And parents, this is a great tool because you'll also have access to the dashboard to see how your child's doing as well. So in this particular dashboard, you can see, I can see the name of the course. I can see this number 1 right here, this circle. This is the current score. So that means that that's the course or the grade that you get for the work that you have submitted. Okay. So for example, you start the lesson out, or you start the unit of study out, you do the first assignment, you get a 10 out of 10 on it. Great. This is going to say 100% 10 out of 10. This will also, your score to date will also say the same thing. Well, let's say several weeks go by and you don't do any work. This will still say 100%, but this will be much lower. Your score to date will be much lower because that takes into account the work that you should have done. Doesn't mean that that 0 is in concrete, it's cemented in. What it means is that you're not getting credit for those assignments. They're being counted as zeros until you actually do them and submit them. So it's very important. Progress. As you're doing your assignments, this bar will fill up until it gets to 100% at the end of the trimester, which is where we all want to be. And there's a great feature called a pacing feature. Okay? As you're doing your work, and I'll show you in a moment the suggested pacing guide. If you are on pace, it will remain gray with a check mark. If you work ahead, let's say you're ambitious, it will actually turn green and it will tell you how far ahead you are. If it turns red, that means you've fallen behind. There are assignments you should have, or tasks you should have done that you didn't do, it turns red. It will, like I said, it will tell you exactly how far you are behind. Now, parents, I want you to listen to me very, very closely here. If you see that it turns red and it says 1, 2, 3 assignments behind, please don't freak out on your student. Please don't lose your mind on them because they probably just didn't attend to that assignment on that day, okay? But if you do see that it's starting to get 4, 5, 6 or more assignments behind, that should be sending up red flags and you should be encouraging them. We will also be looking at that and questioning the students, hey, what's going on? Why are you falling behind? The worst case I've ever seen, 45 assignments behind. That student, there's no way that they were ever going to catch up with being 45 assignments behind. So ended up failing that course. There's really no excuse for that, quite honestly. At the bottom here are several other gauges. It tells you the date that the course was started, the date that any work was last completed on that course. So that's a nice trust but verify tool for parents. It tells the teacher's name, how many assignments are remaining, approximately how many assignments per day, and how many days are remaining. You'll see 204 on this. That's because this is a middle school course, year long. High school courses are trimester long. So at most you would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 days. That does take into account, that's calendar days, not school days. Okay. When you open up the dashboard and go to the actual units of study, simply go to this little arrow right beside the course on the dashboard, click on it, and it's like opening up a door and you can jump right over and here are your units of study for this particular course. If I wanted to open up a unit of study, I do the same thing. I click on the arrow, and it takes me to a screen that looks like this. Okay. Notice on the left-hand side here, I have circled or drawing your attention to, there are dates. That is your pacing guide. It is recommended. If you stay on pace, you will complete the entire course on time, no problem. It takes I set a start date, I set an end date for the student, and then it takes those days, Monday through Friday, and identifies them and spreads the work out, okay? Here's another, this information for that particular lesson. It tells you the date that it was submitted, the date it was graded, the score, and it also gives the status. Notice that this assignment, or these two assignments here, have little dots beside them with arrows. That means that they are open. The student can start their work. Notice this does not have that. Why? Because they are sequential. In order to do this, this must be done first. Projects and performance tasks are always open so that you can do previews to look at what you need to learn. Speaking of the different types of tasks, we have lessons, quizzes, project or performance tasks, and tests. Each one make up 25% of your unit grade, 25% of your course grade. Okay. As I shared earlier, lessons are where you can really do well. Quizzes are a little bit more challenging. Performance tasks, please do not hold off on those. A lot of times they involve a little bit more work, but students have a tendency to skip over those because they are constantly open, and then it ends up having a major impact on their grade. So please don't blow those off. And then at the end of each unit is a test. I'm going to take a moment now and jump in and show some video clips. Some of you may have seen elements of this. They do a very nice job of talking about the actual learning in Odysseyware. And there's some references to theoretical learning in some of these clips. Please disregard that. The main idea of showing you this is to make sure that you have an understanding, both the student and the parents, of how learning takes place on Odysseyware.
Hey guys, thank you for joining me for this demonstration of Odysseyware student mode.
I'm going to skip ahead to some important information. And again, I'm trying to keep this brief.
And take a look at how a lesson unfolds in Odysseyware. Now, Odysseyware best lessons are built on two basic pedagogies. One is the gradual release of responsibility, the I do, we do, you do model. So students would see direct instruction, followed by guided practice, and then independent practice. But we also build our lessons on the Understanding by Design model by Wiggins and McTighe, which means that lessons are built with the end result in mind. So here at the beginning of every lesson, you will see very clear and measurable objectives. So students know right up front what they should be able to do and understand by the time that they finish the lesson. You'll also see a heavy emphasis on vocabulary within the Odysseyware lessons. In fact, our philosophy is to introduce vocabulary early and often with words that have been carefully selected from academic word lists, cross-curricular word lists, even content area vocabulary. And you'll see that students have multiple ways that they can engage with the words. They can see them, they can hear them, they can play games with them, they can even work with the words in context, and all of this supports Marzano's best practices for vocabulary acquisition. Now, as I scroll through this lesson, I really want to point out a unique Odysseyware difference, and that is that our lessons have a very nice balance of text elements or readings, as you see here, as well as media elements or videos, as you see here. Now let's talk about that for just a minute, because there are some solutions out there that primarily instruct their students through text, just page after page of text, yet there are others that primarily instruct only through videos, one video after another. Well, Odysseyware takes a balanced approach, and let's talk about why. You know, when was the last time that your students took a high-stakes test, such as the Parker Smarter Balance test, where they simply watched videos and then they answered questions? Well, the answer to that is never, right? They actually have to read. So we really want to provide that balance to make sure that our students are prepared for the high-stakes test.
I'm going to jump ahead. A new point in the video.
This is where this instructional toolbox that you see here, or this literacy toolbox, comes in handy. So within every single lesson, students have access to this literacy toolbox. For example, if they come across a word that they don't know, they can simply highlight the word, click on the reference tool, and not only do they get a definition of that word, but also some background information and some context of the word. Now, what about students who might be struggling or striving readers, or maybe their IEP says that they need to have the text read out loud? Well, students can highlight any chunk of text and actually have it read out loud by not just one voice, as many other providers do, but by 6 different readers, all who read at a different rate and fluency. And you'll notice that we also have that read-along feature, which allows students to guide as they read with the highlighting and the tracking features. Now, what about your English language learners? Certainly, they can have support from the tools that I shared with you, but they also can highlight any chunk of any piece of text in any course in Odysseyware, and they can actually have it translated in up to 23 different languages. Certainly, they have the option for Spanish, but what if you have a student who moves into your district who's speaking Arabic? Well, now I can actually have the content translated into my native language, and Odysseyware takes it one step further than any other provider by also giving you the audio support for that language. So if you have English language learners who are not literate in their native languages, not only do we translate in more languages than any other provider, but we also take those supports to make sure that the content is equitable and that every student can have access. Now, over here in the left-hand margin, I want to talk for just a moment about how students can interact with the text. They can actually take color-coded sticky notes as they move through the lessons. I'll give an example here. And they can actually print out those notes prior to a test and use them as any kind of study guide. But notice also that the teacher has the ability to add in notes or scaffolds as well. This is a great way to really promote that close reading of text that we want our students doing. Now, I mentioned that nice balance of text and media. So let's scroll down for just a moment, and let's just take a quick look at an example of a video through Odysseyware. Now, Odysseyware takes a social media approach to video. And what that means is our videos are no more than 2 to 3 minutes in length, and that students can actually control the videos from the very first click. So they can pause, they can fast forward, rewind, replay the video. They are truly not held hostage by this video as some other providers do. So if students know this, they can move through or really go back and just revisit the content that's most important to them. They also have available a transcript for every video, and that transcript can also be translated and read out loud as needed as well. Now, I mentioned that nice balance, so let's scroll to a second section of the lesson, and let's click on a second video here, and let's talk for just a moment about some challenges that are sometimes related to videos. You know, we've all been in that situation where students try to log on to a video all at one time, and then all of a sudden the system crashes. Well, that is not the case with Odysseyware. One of the things that makes us unique is that all of our content is fully HTML5 compliant. What that means is we are Java free, we are Flash free, so you don't have to worry about updating plugins or that it wouldn't work on specific devices.
I'm going to jump ahead to the final segment of the video. This deals with assessment.
Unique aspects of our assessments. Notice that every question within Odysseyware is related back to a section of the lesson. Now that's unique to Odysseyware. So if a student needs support and needs to jump back into the lesson, they can actually help find support for this question. And again, they're not directed back to an entire lengthy video where they'd have to watch the entire video to go back and find the support for their responses. We also offer this instructional toolbox with all of our lesson check questions. So if a student needs to have it read out loud or translated, we have those supports available, and students can also ask for help at any time. This is also a really unique advantage within Odysseyware because not only can students ask for help, but when the teacher logs in on the teacher side, it will direct that teacher not just to the lesson, but to the exact question that that student needed help on. Now, last but not least, let's talk about progress monitoring.
Okay, so there's some great information on the actual platform. And again, some of you may have already seen that if you did some research on Odysseyware. It is the entire video is available on our website. But as you can see, it's very compact, it's very consistent, and it does attend to a lot of different needs. It has a lot of different built-in tools that are great for any type of learner. I want to now take a little bit of time. I did answer some questions that were in the Q&A. I responded to them in typing, and hopefully everybody has an opportunity to see that. But I'm going to take some time right now to go over some helpful hints. So these are things that we've learned through trial and error over the last 10 years. And of course, the product, the platform continues to always improve. They're always making it better, but some things that we know to be true. Use the navigation tools embedded in Odysseyware. Do not use your browser navigation tools. Use these tools. We found that when people use the browser navigation tools to go back to screens or refresh, weird things happen and work has a tendency to get lost and people get frustrated. So use the internal browsing tools. Another thing that we learned, if you sit down to take a test or a quiz, make sure that you have some time, uninterrupted time. You can certainly get up, take a little walk, go to the restroom, whatever it may be, get a drink. But if you're going to leave your screen for more than 10 minutes during any single task, the Odysseyware has a tendency to go to sleep. It thinks that you are no longer working, and it does kick you off. So make sure that that you have time to complete a task in one sitting. That's very important. Make sure that you're always checking your work before you turn it in. At the end of every assignment, lesson, quiz, test, project, it'll have a turn it in button. It will actually give you a prompt. In this case, the student hasn't answered any of the questions. It would be foolish to submit it, so we would click no thank you on this. But take an opportunity to check over your work before you submit it. Here's a neat little feature. It talked about the notes that can be taken. And it's almost like putting a digital Post-it note right on your reading or beside the video, which is great. Obviously, for a lesson, you can go back to that portion of the lesson like the moderator or the video described. But for quizzes, you can actually take your notes, print those notes out from a lesson, save them as a PDF in a Google folder or on your hardtop or on your laptop hard drive, and then you can use those notes for quizzes and tests. One thing you can't do is when you have a quiz or a test, you cannot open up previous lessons. You can't go back in, but you can use notes. Another helpful hint, when working on constructed responses like essays, paragraphs, presentations, whatever it is, do your work in Google Docs, then or on Google Slides or whatever it may be. Then copy and paste it into the Odysseyware field and then upload. It's not just an Odysseyware thing. It's any platform thing. When I was doing graduate work at Millersville, we had D2L, which was the Odysseyware, and there's nothing more frustrating than spending 2 hours writing something out only to have it lost, and you don't know how it got lost, but you can't retrieve it. So make sure you do this extended work, do it in a Google Doc, paste it in there. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches, and you can also refer back to it then. I had referenced plagiarism before when we talked about reassignments. Please, students, hear me clearly. Do not plagiarize. All right. So when you go out there, the internet's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful tool. But when you go out there and you copy work off of a web page that is not yours, it's not your ideas, you don't cite it, and then you paste it as your own, that is plagiarizing. That is cheating. Okay. So make sure that you don't plagiarize. If you need help with that on how to cite, our teachers will help you. But teachers do use plagiarism checkers. I think all of our teachers do now, whether it's cyber or not. But they will, they put all their assignments through plagiarizing checkers, they will tell you exactly how much you plagiarized and where it came from. And every year we have students that think they can get away with it and they don't. So the best case scenario, if you plagiarize, is the teacher will call you on it. You'll have a chance to resubmit it. Okay. Worst case scenario, you get a 0 for that task. And there's actually a worst case scenario where if you're just a repeated offender, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk, and you'll likely fail the course. So please do the right thing. Don't plagiarize. If you're not sure, please get help. We'll help you out with it. I see some questions here, so I'm going to answer those. When do we get the Odysseyware password? That is located in the Odysseyware password is actually the same password you use for your device. If you're new to the district, let me know and I will gladly provide you with that. But if you've been a student, it's the same password you use to log on to your district provided laptop. And do we use the same devices that they left school with last year? You would actually use the same ones unless that device needs maintenance, and then please let me know. All right, so I'm going to end the presentation because we are focused on students being successful. It's really, really important that our students, we want our students to be successful, bottom line. So, but it's a partnership. So the school is going to be doing its part. What can the students do? Well, first of all, make sure you're staying on pace, okay? Procrastination is a killer when it comes to cyber learning. You have flexibility. It can be a blessing. It can also be a curse. If you put work off one day, it becomes 2 days, it becomes a week, 2 weeks, and before you know it, you're that dude with 45 assignments in the rear. Bad place to be. Please make sure that you're investing your best effort each time. We get it. You don't have to be a perfectionist. Give your best effort, okay? The teachers are going to appreciate that, and ultimately your grade will appreciate that. Check your email every day, multiple times each day. Can't say enough about that. Be a self-advocate. If you're struggling, if you need help, please reach out to us so that we can get you that support. Okay? Our teachers are good, but they're not mind readers. I've already talked about appropriateness. Exercise digital citizenship. Remember, the device that you are using, unless it's your personal device, it's a school device. Please use it for appropriate school tasks. When you're in those those Zoom sessions with your teachers, where you're sending an email, let's make sure we're being appropriate. And let's make sure that we're also maintaining our devices. Okay? And if you do have need a repair or an update, don't wait. I don't want to get a phone call or make a phone call that because a student hasn't done work in 3 weeks, only to find out that, well, 3 weeks ago, my device stopped working. That's not an acceptable answer. You need to be proactive. You need to get on that as soon as it goes down so that we can get it fixed for you. And parents, how can you help your student be successful? Well, first and foremost, by providing reliable internet connectivity. That is the one requirement for online learning, is they have to be able to access online. If you're in a situation financially that it's just not possible, please let us know so that we can work with you. Our district is partnering with Comcast Essentials. And for those of you that live outside of the Comcast range, we also have we're building a partnership with Sprint. Okay, but internet connectivity is important. Work to provide a conducive learning space in your home. I get the question, what supplies do we need? Well, everything is really self-contained within the computer, but obviously there are things that can assist. Paper. If I were a parent of a student, paper, lined paper, maybe grid paper for math courses, pens, pencils, rulers, a calculator, those types of things. The basic things, have them in a location that they're ready so that the student doesn't have to go searching all over the house for them. Really important that they have a desk or a table where they can get their work done. We do not recommend working in bed. Obviously, my son is a perfect example. He lounges out in his bed with his laptop computer, and within 5 minutes, he's nodding off. It's not a good environment for being productive. Sitting on the couch in front of the TV, okay, not conducive. So a desk or table, kitchen table, a bar in the kitchen. If you have like one of those dinette bars, they work great. Also, try to provide an area that's distraction free. We know that that's easier said than done in a home. We all learned that through COVID. Those of us that have had to work at home. But if we can reduce distractions, that's great. One thing that's not up here that I would add is check in on your child regularly if you get a chance to make sure they're not getting sucked up into video games or Netflix, because they are two major distractions. As a parent, please check your emails and your voicemails daily. I've had situations where parents say, well, I don't check my email. Well, it makes it very difficult for us to communicate. So be checking your emails and voicemails daily. You will have, I see there's a question here, do parents use their child's password? You will actually get an email here shortly that sets up your own password and username so that you can access the Odysseyware account and take a look at it. So that will be coming out to you in an email. Let's see, let your child do the work. You've already graduated from high school, many of you, or you've been in high school. So this is your child's turn to do the work, certainly helping them, supporting them, but please don't do the work for them. That's how they learn. And then finally, seeking maintenance of a device in a timely manner. I've already touched base on that. So at this time, if there are any other question and answers, again, the raised hand, we are not using that this evening, but if you have any questions that you'd like to pose for me, you can do so in the question and answer at this time. If not, if you feel more comfortable simply emailing me, that would be fine as well. Well, it looks like I did a pretty good job in answering a lot of questions, and I do greatly appreciate your patience with my talking on and on and on. Is there an, oh, here's a question, Odysseyware app? No, there is not an Odysseyware app that I am aware of. It's a URL. So you'll want to bookmark that. Great question. All the questions were good, actually. But I really appreciate the time and attention you've given to this presentation this evening, those of you that tuned in. Please, if you know people that didn't have an opportunity to attend or participate, it is being recorded and linked. Let me see here. One other question. If we are doing, say, a woods or metals class, will there be Odysseyware class with those for the credits? That's a great question, Gavin. Unfortunately, there are certain things that are not conducive to online cyber learning. So what we will be doing is working with you to switch out those particular electives. Even with the Wildcat remote, if we could replace it with a Wildcat remote, I don't think it would be conducive. It's not that we don't value those classes, but obviously you don't get the experience. So we would seek to switch those electives out, or you could do a blend with an in-person, taking the woods or metal class in person if you're comfortable going to school. That's certainly an option. So again, if there are no other questions, I'm going to, must they do a PE log like middle school? The answer is no. We actually have two classes that are, one's physical education, one is physical fitness. Once the students have done those for their PE credit, then we do implement a PE log, but that's only as the third and final half credit. So I don't know that anybody's really going to need that in this first trimester. We'll handle that on an individualized basis. So, okay, we have some other questions. If we have already communicated about classes with you, are we able to change now if it's honors, AP, or blended? Certainly, just let me know and we'll make arrangements to help you out. I do know of some students in reviewing their schedules that they had a lot of AP or honors, and we actually were reaching out to them directly to see if Wildcat Remote wouldn't be a better fit. Again, our goal is to make sure that you have a program that works best for you and supports your learning goals. And at this time, I'm going to close out the session. Again, I appreciate your time. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to email me We are here to support you, and we want to make sure your child has a successful online learning experience. Thank you and have a good evening.